We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much, and we have developed speed. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and today I'm just asking questions. So here's the deal, guys. Just so everybody knows, still doing the Making Sense of the Madness show over at Patriot.tv. We've had a break. It goes on through January 6th, so right now they're playing reruns. But the bottom line is, it's just not enough. And there is no depending on anybody else when it comes to alternative media and these networks and, any kind of financial stability. Now, look, one of the things I have loved over the past really several years with opportunities, not only at Patriot TV, but RVM and TNT, is nobody has told me what to say, ever. I've always said what I wanted to say. Now, with that, those shows, in large part, were interview shows. And in the last several years, I have not done as many breakdowns on news stories, and that's about to change. We're going to go back to the format of several videos a day on a subject, okay, somewhere between, a 10-minute video to something we're probably not going to do more than 30 most of the times. I think 30 is going to be stretching it. We will do the live streams. We will do audience engagement, the Ask Me Anythings, the whole nine. But today, and hopefully this isn't even going to be the only video of the day, we're really going to be shooting for 3 a day, at least, with your support. And that brings me to this. Oh, we're going to get to her in a moment. Sorry, we built a little bit of a new set. The links are down below. The Buy Me a Coffee is probably the best way right now to support the broadcast. If you've not seen the featured video yet, right there, okay, I would encourage people to go check that out. Sorry, again, I got the new setup over here. If you haven't seen my presentation from transgender to transhumanism, really a must-watch. Okay, the intros are out of the way. We're going to talk some Luigi Mangione or whatever his name is, okay? Now look, how did we start here? How did we start here? I must have just, of course. Why would anything work on the return broadcast? I just accidentally, I believe, closed one of the tabs out. Yep, there it is right there. Okay, and that's the one that I wanted to start out with. Okay, sorry guys, I'm gonna have to get used to my little hand spots. Tracing the powerful family roots of suspected killer Luigi Mangione. Now, first of all, I'm going to tell you right now, he is not a terrorist. Now, the lovely lady that you just saw like a freeze frame of, we're going to play her whole video. That's Destiny Resendez. And again, one of the great things about what I've been able to do is I've been introduced to people like this. And if you're not following Destiny, she has literally some of the best thread work on Twitter, where she not only goes over the COVID 1984 nightmare, the medical industrial complex, DARPA, sometimes NASA, but many things beyond that. And she nails some of the main points on why Mangione, even if he did this, and I'm not saying he didn't do this, by the way, we'll get into all that in a moment, he's not a terrorist. Okay? Hands down, there's no way, other than taking a broad sense, and one of the things I love that she does is she breaks out an old school dictionary, and we're going to do the same thing. We actually got, I think this is a 1986 dictionary thesaurus, because I want to get into that as well. And I get a bunch of these. The good people over at Truth Stream Media, they do that a lot also. They, read those types of things. I think it's really important because words have meaning, okay? But let's talk Mangione for a minute, okay? So when you look at this kid, and he's 26, okay, number one, everybody talks about his privileged background. His parents apparently own old folks' homes. He has this 3-page quote-unquote manifesto. Many people are talking about how smart he is. Here's the thing. We live in a world that is extremely shallow. Extremely shallow. And if you put everything together about Mangione that's out there, and he's not an extremely good-looking person, this whole thing has a slightly different flavor, okay? And that's why you're seeing the perp walks and the whole nine. We live in a society, all right, that bases a lot of what we think on this, okay? Now, immediately, there were a multitude of people that were extremely, I wouldn't even say sympathetic, excited that somebody did this to the CEO of United Healthcare. Okay. So I want to start with that, right? Mangione, if he did this, killed one person. One person. Who, by the way, was replaced that day. Replaced that afternoon. Okay, I know somebody who worked for United Healthcare. Happened early in the morning. By the afternoon, all the employees were told who the new CEO was. There is always a vacuum for power anywhere. Okay? What he did nothing to subvert policy, to subvert the practices of United Healthcare, or any other insurance company or our healthcare system at all. Okay? Totally unimpactful. Not going to change a damn thing. You want to know what's going to change stuff? If this administration gets in there and people like Bobby Kennedy and his cohorts fight tooth and nail, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take fighting tooth and nail on a political level to change anything about our healthcare system. Let's get that straight. Shooting this guy did nothing for that. 100% nothing. Now, let's get into some of the other odd aspects of the case, because we have to ask these questions, okay? And this was the thing you first saw. This is supposedly he used a ghost gun. Now, I know everybody watched it, and again, what we watched was somebody fully masked up walking up on someone and shoot them. We're taking a lot of words for it. I'm not saying he didn't do this. I'm just saying what we saw is a masked person shoot a guy in the back and his gun jam up. Now, I just recently had on my Patriot.tv show a person that's been in court and been all the way up to the Supreme Court who has put 3D printed like CAD models. Okay, so in other words, models that you can have 3D printed with materials. I love that I have topic here. See, rookie mistake here, topic. How about ghost guns? There we go. How about that? Huh? We're killing it today, guys. Hello? We're knocking the rust off. Okay? So, you've got the ghost gun argument. Now, look, here's the deal. We already have super regulations when it comes to firearms in this country, weapons, how far the quote-unquote Second Amendment can go. Now, look, for the most part, I'm a Second Amendment absolutist, right? Now, that doesn't mean I think that people should have nuclear weapons or whatever, but I think that the idea that I can't have the same models to print something that can protect me, and they talk about ghost guns. It didn't work out for this guy. That's the other really weird thing about this. If you printed the gun, what are you doing carrying it around several days later with your manifesto in your book bag? Right? Pretty bizarre. Pretty bizarre. So now let's get into some of the other aspects of the case. Now, first of all, the guy has pled not guilty. Okay? He said not guilty, didn't do it. Okay. I mean, and now I don't know whether that's like actually what he's saying. Like he may be arguing like, oh, this guy deserved it. I don't know. He's got good lawyers. Now, if you go to the Department of Justice, okay, they talk about stalking and the murder, but here's the deal. They've used terrorism laws, and we're going to get into that because I think that's really, really important because he's not a terrorist. I've always argued to people that this idea that you want to label all these people domestic terrorists is to your detriment. It's the same thing with like hate speech laws. Somebody commits a crime. This guy committed murder. Okay? You charge him with murder. You don't make it a big thing where all of a sudden your rights are in question, right? Because especially in this arena of what he was doing and posting on message boards and social media, all of a sudden you label this guy a terrorist, and then the surrounding group or people that empathize or sympathize or champion him are also now considered what? Potential domestic terrorists. All right? And I'm going to say it again. You get that label, good luck getting due process. All right? That's a big, big deal. And there's a few other things I want to hit on before we hit the definition of terrorist post 9/11, because I think that's the Patriot Act Section 802 definition of a terrorist, because that is extremely important in my opinion. By the way, guys, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Look, we don't gain subscribers on YouTube. In fact, I might want to just pull that right up for everybody, just to show people that no matter how much I do, no matter what I put out, no matter what my actual numbers are, we lose subscribers every single month. So I'm on Rumble, I'm on X. Well, we'll probably do a whole video on X and free speech, maybe even later today. We're on Rockfin as well. That's a great way to financially support me if you're still involved. You can go subscribe over there. That does help. But just take a look at this, guys. Oh, we did it again. Went back to, and we're going to get to Destiny. There it is. Minus 23 in the last 28 days. Go to channel analytics. We cannot, no matter what, it's always minus. Let's do this is the last 28 days. Let's do the last 365 days. Somehow, some way, we had a gain of almost 400 subscribers in a year. And I'll be really honest with you. Those 400 net subscribers are more than likely from when I do a 4th hour on the Alex Jones Show. That's about it. And people that'll have me on to talk about other subjects that have big shows. There you go. That's YouTube. So again, needing your support. That being said, let's get into terrorism for a second. And before we do that, I do want to point out, Mangione seems like a total manic lunatic too. I just want to let you, anybody that makes the decision to take a human life, okay, not defending themselves, okay, playing God, you get into sociopathic and psychopathic manic behavior. Now, I do want to point this out because I think it's important. And now, I mean, some people will say it's not. It is. It seems like this guy was a closeted homosexual. All right. Now, what does that mean to me? That means that he is mentally unstable, doesn't know who he is. All right. And I understand there's social mores, pressures, family pressures, etc. I'm just saying, didn't seem like he had it all together. All right? I'm putting that out there. All right. Now, let's continue on. I do want to point out that a lot of people have discussed that this guy that was killed was supposedly going to testify against Nancy Pelosi. Did it again. I'm going to have to switch my button layout here. I keep doing the wrong thing, guys. I hate it. So apparently there is no evidence of this. Now, whether this is a USA Today fact check, they're 100% garbage. But it does seem like he had ongoing court battles. That is real, and threats. What he was going to testify to, what he had said, I don't know. Does seem like powerful people were a little bit nervous. Okay? So, I don't know if the Pelosi thing's real. There certainly seems to be some things surrounding this guy in the court system that makes you go, what's going on there? All right. So now, since we've shown her face half a dozen times on the broadcast, I'm going to play Destiny Resendez talking about terrorism and Mangione in particular, and then we're going to add on to that, okay? So here she is, Destiny Resendez, and you can find her over on Twitter. In fact, do we have that up there? We do. And we're going to just bring that up really quick before we play her. And, I just basically put out, whatever you think of Mangione is irrelevant. He's not a terrorist. He allegedly committed a single murder. The precedence this could set is extremely dangerous. And it's at Desi_Rezi with a Z. Let's play her clip.
Hey guys, it's Des, and I only get 1 minute and 45 seconds for this video, so I'll make it short and sweet to the point. I have with me a pair of dictionaries from 1958. These are Funkin' Wagnall International editions, printed right here in the United States. Now, it was brought up on Twitter last night, the term terrorism, which I really wanted to let everyone know what the true definition of terrorism is pre-internet, but before they decided to change its definition, which they have. Now, terrorism is defined by bullet point 1, an act of terrorizing. Well, what is terrorizing? Terrorizing is to reduce to a state of terror, to terrify, or to coerce through intimidation. Now that we know that, what does the rest of terrorism actually mean? Terrorism means a system of government that seeks to rule through intimidation. A system of government. There is no such thing as a domestic terrorist, because terrorism is performed by governments, not people. In fact, it's performed by governments on their people. And it's funny that Homeland Security has a problem with Americans in trying to censor their speech, considering them the biggest threat to our nation's security, saying that we are domestic terrorists, which is funny because terrorism did not become a highlight in American lexicon until, 9/11, when we instituted Homeland Security. And funny how that act of terrorism led to Homeland Security coercing and intimidating its people, kind of like the definition of terrorism.
And there it is. She kills it there. All right. Now I'm going to add to that really quickly. All right. Now, when I talk about Section 802, right here, AI overview, we'll give it to you right here. And it says Section 802 of the USA Patriot Act defines domestic terrorism as an act that is dangerous to human life and violates the law and is intended to, now here are the three things, let's read it, intimidate or coerce a civilian population. All right. Now, again, that we'll get to each of those. Influence government policy through intimidation or coercion, and affect government conduct through mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. Okay. Now, again, when you look at this, the influence and coercion part are very vague. Okay, I don't agree with any of that in that sense. In fact, you can check out how even the ACLU back, when they were doing stuff in 2002, showed how it redefined terrorism. All right, now I want to go through some things that you could argue are terrorism that may have not been totally and completely state-sponsored. Now, first of all, I think that state sponsorship, you look at 9/11, this is an international intelligence operation that targeted civilians. All right? That would honestly fit the definition, and it changed all sorts of policy. Only they wanted you to believe that the terrorists were a bunch of bad Muslim people, okay, overseas, so they could turn it in on us. But in reality, those bad Muslim people, in many cases, were trained here. We're allowed to do what they do to do here. Okay, we're shepherded here at U.S. military bases with FBI informants, all those things. That's reality, okay? So really, 9/11 is a terrorist attack. They killed a bunch of civilians, and then they upended our entire political structure. It's the irony of it, and then changed the definition of it. All right? Now let's take it back a little further. Let's do another one that I believe to be, at the end of the day, a false flag, black ops, state-sponsored terror. Now, if you take the word of the government, Tim McVeigh is this ideologue, and he kills children. Okay? Bombs the ATF building, kills children. Again, a civilian population killed. They have nothing to do with the politics that are supposedly being talked about here. And, supposedly because of Waco and the federal government, yada, yada, yada. And yet, when you look at the evidence, and you can go watch my film Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, okay, you find that there are bombs planted in the building. You see them being taken out, all right? And that also, it didn't move us quite to 9/11, but it moved the bar. It did politically change things. And it expanded the power of the government. Weird. Okay. So let's take the United States, for the most part, out of the mix and do another example of what I would call terrorism. Whether you agree with it or not. The PLO and the Olympics. Okay? When the Palestinian Liberation Army came in and they took Jewish athletes, held them hostage, and killed a bunch of them, you could argue, again, that is terrorism. Now, when you look at that, there were certainly state sponsors behind it. Okay? That's it. Of course there were. Did they target a civilian population? Yes. Was it outright political? And at the end of the day, several state sponsored? Yes. All of these things have to do with governments. Okay? So now let's take the governments out of it for a second. And let's talk about one that maybe you could argue is the lone use of domestic terrorism in this country that seems relevant, in my opinion. And that would be the Unabomber. Okay? Now, the Unabomber, again, targeted civilians, however, specific civilians. Again, he wasn't out there trying to kill civilians in a shock manner for a political purpose. He was anti-technology, and he had targeted people working on that technology. Now, even if he wanted a political outcome in that, obviously didn't happen. All right, but because he targeted civilians, you could make maybe that claim of domestic, and had not just one manifesto. Obviously he had the manifesto published saying he would kill again if not, again, making that thing. But if you want to take a broad idea of what terrorism is, and that's when we're going to read this dictionary and thesaurus, you could really categorize anything as that. And I'm sorry, once again, somebody murdering one person in one industry that'll have zero political impact other than as a distraction, all right, and creating a false argument, right, like that somehow this guy deserved it. Look, I'm not here to judge people. That doesn't mean I necessarily like United Healthcare or I'm defending this guy at all. I ain't God, okay? I don't make that decision, right? And that's the big thing. But let's start to wrap this up. Again, thumbs it up, subscribe, share. We're going to be doing several of these a day from now on. We're back in the saddle, everybody. We're back in the saddle. I got to do a little dicka-dicka-do on my Steam Deck, so I'm a little bit more comfortable on what these are. But I want to read this, okay? Let's go to terrorism and terror, because they're very broad, okay? So, first, let's go to terror, all right? Terror, intense fear, okay? Yep. One that causes intense fear, the quality of causing such fear. And really that is the basis of any kind of terroristic activity, is to cause fear. Now, you can have fearfulness without terrorism. People are afraid of the damnedest things, aren't they? My niece is scared of spiders. It's the funniest thing when they start to freak out to me over a little spider, okay? Obviously, the spider, not a terrorist. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so let's get to terrorism. The use of force or threats to intimidate, etc., especially as a political policy. Okay, and then terrorize, to terrify, to coerce, make, submit, etc., by filling with terror. Now, here's where it gets interesting. All right, and I think this is also something that people really do need to remember when thinking about this term. And again, this is, I think, 1986. Let's look at it again. I want to get the correct date here. 1984? Is there another date? Oh, nope. Copyright 1996. So, wow, this is way later. Huh? We're talking, I was almost had graduated high school by that point. As a young whippersnapper. Now, here it is. You read this part, in the thesaurus part. All right? So, terrorist, subversive, revolutionary, incendiary, rebel. Oh. So, if you take that logic, and you talk about revolutionaries, one man's terrorist, if you will, is another man's freedom fighter. I mean, even today, look what's going on in the Middle East. Look what people want to use as a label. And all I'm saying is it's super dangerous to just throw that label at anything. In fact, it's the last label we should throw at people or organizations except in the most extreme of cases. And look, they perp walked this guy. They didn't need to do that. It's a big media show. And there's a lot of things that they want to expand the definition of terrorism and the use of terroristic charges. They want to do that 100%. They want to expand surveillance on this. They want to restrict gun access. They want to restrict access to digital goods, aka the ghost guns, right? All those things. They want to legitimize coming after you and your social media. This case has all of those hallmarks. All right, folks, you know the drill. It was a bit of a rough start for old Jason Bermas on this one. I need your help. You want these several videos a day, and we're going to do it. Like I said, we got a couple more to do today. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share. Remember, we're over at X at Jason Bermas. Could love a follow over there if you're not. We're on the Rumble. There are certain things that are posted over to Rumble and Rockfin that get posted nowhere else because, quite frankly, yeah, we could talk about X and free speech. We'll probably do that video later today. I haven't seen any real traction on X at all. You know, I know a lot of people are complaining about the whole, the blue check marks are gone and this and that. I've told you, like, they never fired all those people on the inside that had worked with the government. Signature reduction is a real thing that no one wants to talk about. Well, I'm talking about it. I'm talking about reality here. That's what we do, because it is not about left or right. It is absolutely always about right and wrong. I love you guys. Couldn't do it without you. The links are down below, and we will see you all on